All right, so I'm back again to do another knot. This one is called the square knot, also known as the reef knot, referring to reefing in your sails, as sailors would use the reef knot for that purpose. Square knot because it kind of looks square. So once again, I'm going to put my camera on my head, and you can just watch me as I work with my hands. It gives you the ability to see how you're doing it from a bird's eye view. So do that again, and I do this a couple different ways, and just to demonstrate to you how it's done. Okay, so first of all, the best way to do this is to think of it as I have a left hand and a right hand, and I have two ropes that I'm going to tie together. And by the way, this is not used to connect two ropes. It's more used to do some lashing, and I have some bags over here. I'm going to show you what that means as far as that's concerned. So we'll go over all the different things. So a couple different techniques here. So first of all, what I like to do is I like to put my right rope over top my left. My tendency is to do left over right away, but I'm going to do right over left to start, and then I simply take the two ropes. It doesn't matter which one I do, but one of them, and you twist it around. And so you can see here how I have twisted around. Now this time the left rope, which was the right, is going to go back on top, and I twist again, and I now have what's called a square knot. That there is a square knot. Okay, and it's for lashing things down or tying things down. It's not really a knot used to tie two ropes together. You'll notice that the two ends are coming out the same loop here, the two ends are coming out of the same loop here. The most common mistake that students make when they're tying this is they do this. They go left over right, and then they do left over right again, and they make what's known as a granny knot. And you'll see here the two ropes are not coming out together on this side nor on this side. They are coming out opposite sides of those loops, and this is known as a granny knot. And you'll see even as I pull here, it slips more, and if you kind of wiggle it around, it usually comes undone over time. It's not quite coming undone here, but it will come undone much more easily. So no to the granny knot, yes to the square knot. So once again, I'll do this again. Right over top of the left, wrap one of those two around the other, it doesn't matter which one, and then left over right, and the same thing, wrap over. And I like to use the left over right second because that's my tendency, my strong hand, so to speak. And there is a nice square knot. It looks the same pretty much from both sides, like inversely. Okay, now it's sometimes easier for students to see this if I use two different color ropes, but like I said, it's not generally used to do tie two ropes together. It's kind of a no-no. I'm going to show you a bend for that. Okay, this is a square knot here, so I put the right rope on my right hand, right rope on top of the left, wrap it around, right, and then the left rope, now left hand on top of the right hand. And here we go. Now you can really see how that knot kind of binds with the two different color ropes. Doesn't get confusing to see which side is which. Okay, that is your square knot right there. Okay, pull it tight, and to get it undone, if it does get really tight, to get it undone is to look at either of these two ropes and kind of just wiggle them back and forth, and eventually the knot will come undone, and just kind of try to pull them apart, and off you go. Your knot does come undone. It can be a little more challenging when we use it as a lashing thing. Okay, so if I use it as a lashing thing, that's generally speaking referred to as a situation like this, where I'm tying something down and I want to tie these materials down, and this would be lashing. So I have a bit more rope than I need here, so it's going to create some challenge, but my right rope is over top of my left, you can see that, and I wrap it around, and then this time I'm going to pull it down, usually put a finger on there, and then the left rope has to go on top of the right, wrap it around, and I have myself a square knot. And that is what it's used for. This is what would be referred to as lashing, tying something down. Now, this is the same knot that you use to tie your shoes. Okay, so if I was to do this to demonstrate how we do it tying shoes, I actually have to kind of cheat a little bit here and shorten this rope up. So that's not hard to do. Just going to pretend that this rope is quite a bit shorter. I'll just kind of put a little overhand knot in here just to kind of shorten things up. okay? And I'll pretend that I'm gonna tie my shoes. And so you come together. What I typically do is I will pretend I'm tying my shoes. This right rope goes on the top, wrap it around, and I pull it down. I'm tying my shoes. And then I take a bow, and left goes over top, and I come under here, and I have essentially created what's known as a bow line with 2 little bows in it. Okay, or sorry, not bow line, a square knot with 2 little bows in it. So we have a square knot. And the way I can see this is if I pull this out here and I pull that out here, you notice when you pull it, look at that, you have a perfect square knot. And had I left those in and I pull them out, it just unties my square knot nice and easy. So we call those bows actually quick releases. They're created. I'll do that one more time. So if I go back here, right on top of left, wrap it around, pull it down, wrap a loop here. Your parents probably taught you this when you're about 5 years old. Come around and wrap it this way, and I now have myself a square knot. And if I don't do right over top and then left, then it will be a granny knot, and it'll probably come undone. So if your shoelaces are always coming undone, it's probably because you're making granny knots as opposed to square knots. And then once I do this, if I want to get it undone quickly, I simply pull the 2 lines and out comes my rope. It's all untied. So there's your square knot versus the granny knot. We don't want the granny knot, we do want the square knot. And that is today's or this lesson on how to do a square knot. Hope you like that. Practicing really matters.